I would describe my home decor as bohemian. Lots of conflicting patterns and colors, though with a few touchstone themes, like the living room is cool tones, lots of turquoise, though that allows for pops of light pinks and mint greens. The kitchen centers on mustard yellow with little bits of bold greens and blacks. Bohemian decor allows for, or actually requires, lots of shelves full of books and knickknacks, statuettes, and wall art. The goal of this design is for the user to feel comfortable, to create a space where you just want to plop down on an overstuffed couch covered in quilts and read a book in the sunlight, or to sit on the rug and play cards. It's cozy and inviting. The other goal of the bohemian style is to make it easier for someone like me who is very clean, but not at all neat. I have lots of books, lots of knickknacks. I appreciate a brutalist warehouse look or even the tidy Danish modern aesthetic, but that's for hotel rooms. If I stay too long in a space like that, it's going to look like a dump. I like messy as long as there's a theme and a general sense of flow to a room. I don't want to be tripping over shit on my way to the bathroom or the hall. I think messy can look and feel fantastic. Sure, this vase doesn't work with the rug, but if I put it on the shelf next to the record player and an unsorted horizontal stack of books, it won't stand out. It'll blend in as long as it doesn't attract too much attention. Of course, if a guest comes over and stares at the vase too long, they might be like, why is there a brick red pot amongst all these pastels? Listen, don't think too hard about it. I just like the vase and I don't know where else to put it, so it's got to be right here. This week's film, Dark City, was named #1 movie of 1998 by Roger Ebert. It was also lambasted by a lot of critics for a silly plot, a lack of subtlety in subtext, and for trying to do way too much. I think it's both an incredible movie and a big old mess. The plot is slipshod if you think too much on it. There are some goofy special effects, and it's often style over substance, but whatever. I love a mess if it's interesting to look at, sticks to a theme, and just makes me feel cozy for a little bit. Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
What's your preferred decor? What kind of styles do you
I
like in
think
a
I think I'm
living
on the
space?
same page as you. Like I love lots and lots of like little magical objects that cause intrigue and delight.
Yeah.
Like things that just want you to like you're just like, oh, I just want to pick that up. And what is that? And like I've got everything from hand a lot of handcrafts. Like I like
Hmm.
making things whenever I can, and or things that people have made for me are like the best
Yeah.
thing to display. Like I want to say my brother gave me for Christmas last year a like a hand drawn picture of one of our Patreon movies.
Uh-huh.
And but he put it in like a really gilt kind of frame, and it's sort of like his sort of kind of creepy hand drawn gonzo style pen and ink with this like rococo sort of frame is like one of my favorite things. um Postcards from places that I've been. Like I like a mishmash. Like
Yes.
I want to be your Auntie Mame,
Yes, yes,
but
yeah.
on a budget
Uh-huh.
because I don't live at whatever Beekman Place.
Right, right. Yeah. I think as artists, and you in particular as somebody who loves divination, right? Like the tarot
I
and
do.
things like that. I think that I don't know if that style, that bohemian style is just like a utilitarian offshoot of how we are as artists.
Yeah.
Because we do collect a lot of art from other people.
Mm-hmm.
We make art, you knit.
Mm-hmm.
There's we read a lot of books and collect cute, fun things. You were just showing me your
Yeah.
Meow Wolf throw pillow. Like, I need this. I don't need it, but I need it. And so
I
I've got
need
to
it.
create an environment where this can fit. And if I had Danish Modern, I could never get this fun plush Koshik toy or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, like does this black little, plushy pillow fit with the white couch? No. But you know what? It's still there.
Mm-hmm. That's totally it. Yeah, it's funny because right before we started the show, I was just telling you about my trip to the new Meow Wolf in Dallas. And yeah, there's a lot of plot to follow if you go to a Meow Wolf, but I'm never that interested in the plot. I love that a Meow Wolf exhibit is really just room after room of just every square inch is covered in something
Yeah.
to look
Yeah.
at by all of these artists, and it's really cool. It's really cool to kind of see a constant pastiche of work. because if you do enough pastiche, it all comes together. It forces itself together. That the pastiche itself is the color palette.
Yeah. Yeah. You know where I do have to draw the line is with like obsessive cover the walls with art. You know, like when it comes to wall space, I'm generally like less is more. One big statement piece, maybe a little accent, and just like don't just because I think I've lived in so many tiny ass apartments in my life that you start, and I learned the hard way on my last apartment in Brooklyn, when you love art, you find posters and postcards and expensive art and cheap art and handmade art, and then you want to display them all, and you realize they become a room full of children arguing for your attention after a while in small apartment. You know, like I lived in a railroad apartment, which like I could literally put my arms out on either side and touch both the walls. So that giant piece of art starts to loom really large in small spaces. And I was like, okay, maybe pull it back when it comes to what you put on the walls.
Yeah. You do need a little bit of white space in even in a bohemian room. Like you have to have a little bit of Agreed.
And actually, one of the things that I always say that I'm going to do is like either yearly or bi-yearly is like change out my knickknacks.
It's a good call.
You know, like keep some of them in reserve, and for like a winter time versus a summertime, or just whenever time, you know, like, so you always have a treasure trove to discover and be like, oh, I forgot I had this. Let's put this up and take this one down and put that in the reserves pile for another year. So you can be pleasantly delighted and spark the fucking joy when you discover I do own this, you know, bobblehead, you know, like thing.
I love that.
That's I bought adorable. In Sweden. Does it do? No, just sits on my desk. That's all. Next to a chicken foot that a fan gave me, and a little thing that says "You better work," as if it was my name at an office. But that's my insanity. Let's talk about this movie.
Let's talk about, you and I have both seen this film before. I think for both of it's been 20 at least years since either of us have seen it. I don't know about you, but I came away like still really enjoying this movie. Some of that is nostalgia. Some of that is just, I think it's a really good movie. I think it has a really cool story, a cool aesthetic, a neat style to it. But I think some of it is the age of CGI. There's a little bit, and some of it is just I was just more aware of plot because I take notes during these for the show, so I become more hyper aware of the writing and so there's a lot of like, wait, how do
you're like,
they
is it never day? Wait, how long
do they
are
never
your
notice?
days? No, wait, you just nobody drowns when they sleep in their soup, because you can drown in like 3 teaspoons of water kind of shit.
A space city the size of Manhattan, are you replacing every citizen's memory every night?
Many are there? Every night? And you have to dress them and give them props? Because I've worked as a stage manager before, and actors are the worst. They're going to lose that shit immediately.
Yes.
I think it was interesting going back and watching this, and just our collective understanding of a lot of science fiction and theoretical ideas, you know, has expanded so much in the last 25 years that what was laughable in, you know, 1998 is now like, now we're like into the fucking Spider-Verse. So we're like, so I'm like, oh yeah, this, I don't know, sure, why not? Of course they live on a giant space station that it's always nighttime and everything changes around, and they use their minds to make buildings grow like mushrooms.
Sure. Duh. There's also, it's really interesting too, because this movie gets into conspiracy brain, like not directly, it's not about that,
Jeffrey,
but the idea that like people in this movie are like, we're living in a simulation, and everyone else is like, you're crazy, and then those people are right, and I'm like, oh no, let's not validate the simulation people.
I almost took a screenshot and texted it to you last night and was like, is this what flat earthers believe?
Well, and when you see the planet in the last third of the movie, you see
what people think
they live on a flat earth.
Yeah.
They live on
So,
a disk in space that is flat.
and what's interesting is, so like the Matrix will then come out like a year and a half later after
Uh-huh.
this, and there was a lot of thing about the creator, the director creator, talking about like, did the Matrix rip off his idea? Because there's a lot of shared DNA here, and I didn't want to watch that because I was like, I don't know, this seems like it's going to go down into angry podcast territory,
Yeah.
which I'm like, it's not my jam. But there is definitely, I think, something was happening where people were like, we're all being puppeted,
Yeah.
we're all being controlled. There's a city beneath the city. There's a conspiracy inside a conspiracy, inside a government, inside a shadow government, that is like mushrooms in the dark, is growing underneath our American culture.
Yeah.
Especially, and it got like, pretty fucking heavy in the 90s and early 2000s.
Well, I was just thinking about when you go back to the Kennedy assassination, that was kind of the first moment for for Americans to really get into conspiracy theories, because it was so confusing as to who shot this man, why.
Yeah.
It didn't
Why?
seem to make sense that like just some rando would be like,
Seems impossible.
who fucking
One
cares? Let's
man
shoot this
against the
guy.
United States government? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And of course, like conspiracy talk shows and conspiracy, writers and things like that really blossomed in the 60s. And then Watergate happens and Vietnam. And what we realize is, wait, these conspiracies are real. Those are actual conspiracies. Like when you look at the truth about why we were in a Vietnam conflict, and also what was happening with Watergate.
The Bay of Pigs.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, have you seen the White House Plumbers yet?
I haven't seen White House Plumbers yet, no.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun, but it takes a lot of these mid-century conspiracy theories and all but goes check. Like it goes down the list of things that cannot be proved, but seems like they should be able to be proved if these papers didn't just mysteriously disappear, or these witnesses just blued up in airplanes for no reason at all.
Well, and then you have these conspiracies. So you have a whole generation of people growing up with these conspiracies. And then in the 90s, what do we get? We get the internet. And by the late 90s, a lot of people are online, probably artists writing films like The Matrix and Dark City. And you start seeing people are communicating about, with blogs and whatever else, about conspiracies,
about lizard people and shit.
And so one, just like with this movie and with The Matrix, there's a plugging in, like a physical plugging in. And this one, it's the syringe in The Matrix, plugging in your head to
jack.
But yeah, I think the idea of like, we're all plugging in and we're understanding the truth. And I think that's the 90s is where we begin we're in a simulation, because we see the second life on the internet, quite literally the game. And you start thinking, oh, wow, we could be that simulation too. It's like a deeply problematic philosophical conundrum to think about. And so it makes sense that Dark City and Matrix come out within a couple years of each other.
I'm trying to look up, when did The Sims begin? Like, when did the first Sims come out?
Well, Sim City would have been like mid-90s, I think. I don't know about
apparently
The Sims.
The Sims came out February 4th, 2000.
There you go.
So it is like within 2 years of this movie.
Yeah.
This idea that you could just live a whole separate life online.
Yeah.
In a dark city of your very own.
Yeah. And Second Life, the online world.
I never played Second Life.
I didn't either.
Really get into that one.
I didn't either.
I didn't really get into The Sims either, but
no. Second Life was 2003. So yeah, as we enter the new millennium, we're definitely all thinking about simulation of humanity and what that means.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about this movie. We have Kiefer Sutherland doing a character.
Congratulations. You win the Oscar for doing the most. The very, very most.
I love it. I love it so much. What is his name? Javier Bardem, when he did No Country for Old Men, talked about, he wanted to talk to Joel and Ethan Coen about the direction of his character before they were going to start shooting. And he was at the table read and talking about like what to do with the character, and they're like, you'll know once you'll figure it out, like you just read the words on the page.
Okay,
And
great.
he was like, I still didn't quite know what to do with it. And then when I showed up for costume and makeup and hair, they
Was it that
told me to
wig?
grow my hair long, or I don't know if they grew his hair long, but they gave him that hairstyle. And he's
Yeah,
like, the
that
moment I
creepy
had that
bowl
hair,
cut. Ugh.
it's like the moment I had the hairstyle, I understood the character fully.
Oof.
And the same thing with Kiefer Sutherland. They gave him the weird like eye, like
Yeah.
the I don't know what you call that, but like the patch of skin like hanging over his
Mhm.
right eye. And I think he got that and was like, yes, I am Igor.
Yeah. Like Igor meets and like, you know, one of the things I love about this film is that it is sure the plot makes about as much sense as a basket full of cats and snakes,
Uh-huh.
but it is goddamn pretty to look at. Like it's so neo-noir, and he's playing this sort of, you know, underdog, like somebody
Mm-hmm.
that in the 1930s and 40s, like in traditional noir film 20s
Mm-hmm.
to 40s, like would be the villain,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, he's
But in
doing
this,
what's his name from M? Hans.
yes, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Like it's very much like everything, and he's this, like he has like a bit of like he has a hard time connecting sentences together, like all the things that in sort of like traditional Hollywood tropes would be like, uh-oh, watch out for him. But as we learn, there's like an even bigger bad, so he's actually on humanity's side.
Yes.
Sort of,
Sort
maybe.
of.
Yes.
Problematic hero. He was ahead of
Well,
his
yeah.
time. We hadn't gotten to
Yeah.
Walter White and Tony Soprano
I know,
just yet.
right?
Um, but yeah, this is a neo-noir. I was thinking of like it's definitely sci-fi. It is playing with noir,
Yeah.
most definitely. Like literally, this movie is black. Like it
Yeah.
is dark at all times. Um, so Kiefer plays Dr. Daniel Schraber, who is so we know in this city, which is kind of stylized like classic like Gotham or New York
Yep.
City, like it is an unnamed city, but very much like mid-century 1930s New York City sort of thing.
Yeah, with a little bit of Chicago mixed
A
in
little
there as well.
Chicago, yeah,
Like
it's
definitely the subway. I was like, that looks like that. I swear that looks like the State Street stop down in Chicago.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
totally. But he tells us that there were these strangers, these people from another world that came to our planet, to a little
uh-huh.
blue planet, and that they can alter physical reality with their minds, a thing they called tuning.
Dope.
So they came to here because their race was dying out, and they came to study humans to figure out how to keep their people alive. And we get a little bit clearer detail towards the end, but it never quite makes total sense why
Yeah.
or what they're
Also, it's
doing.
like you know we die as well.
Yes.
Oh, but I think we get like they want our corpses to like
They
put
yes.
their little weird alien things into,
Yeah, to put their
and
like
like
face
maybe
sucker.
extend their life. Yeah, they're face huggers
Yeah.
to extend their life.
So he says, and so we get to see a quick demonstration of Gotham or
I
whatever.
fucking
It's
love this opening.
so good. It's just this hustle and bustle midnight in the big city, and people driving around, people at diners, people wherever, hotels, and then you see his watch strikes midnight,
Yeah.
Dr. Daniel Schraber, and every car stops, everything stops, and everybody passes out.
Like this is some intense dream shit here,
Mm-hmm.
which like this movie reminded me so much of like just the alienation of Edward Hopper paintings.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like everybody's in these brightly lit boxes not talking to anyone else, like the sadness of a solo cup of coffee at 2 o'clock in the morning in the
Yeah.
big city.
I'm kind of surprised we didn't have what is the famous painting Nighthawks?
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised we didn't have a straight up like, borrowing of that exact image at one point.
Right, but I've seen a lot of his other paintings. Like a friend of mine is like obsessed, and whenever he came to New York to visit me, we would go to the Met and we would find them. We'd find them.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of that. Like the automat is like just this like nobody, like you get a lot of voices talking to you, but you never see their faces.
Yeah.
a la Terry Gilliam. This movie owes a lot to Terry Gilliam. 12 Monkeys, a lot of, the models feel very Brazil to me in that
Yes.
respect, in
Yeah.
that it's corporation town, not American per se, or Brit or European, but it's, this one definitely leans more American than I think Terry Gilliam. But this idea of like the impenetrable city forest that sort of grows up around you that you can't quite get your bearings in.
So John Murdoch is our main character, played by Rufus Sewell. It's an interesting casting here because
I know.
he's great. I enjoy him very much in this movie. I don't know him from a lot else. He's kind of that guy, like you see him and you know who he is, but I don't know necessarily what I'd seen him from. But he doesn't have the typical face of your protagonist,
Well, he's
right?
not
Like,
an action hero.
yes, and he's not babyface. He's not Tom Cruise. He's not George Clooney.
Yeah.
There's not a kindness to his face. Actually,
Yeah.
he looks like he could easily play a lot of villains in movies.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's great in the Man in the High Castle series.
Okay.
In which he's, a Nazi. Like,
Yeah.
I think I recognized him because I knew him from a lot of British independent films, or because I was a kid, like a teenager in this time period. And like, I think he was really popular over in England because he's such a phenomenal actor. And he does have that, like, can be menacing or also a leading man, or also like unsure where to put him. And I think one of the things that make this film so wild is that it doesn't fit into a lot of 1998 Hollywood boxes.
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
the action sequences, the music is telling me this is an action sequence, but I just see people just casually walking down the streets.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. Or there's buildings growing with a sense of menace. But I think that the casting is in it, the look of it, the feel of it. I think your average person probably didn't know what to do with this movie.
No.
Versus like horror nerds, film nerds, sci-fi nerds, existential philosophy nerds. We all went, this movie's kind of dope.
I also think like early video game nerds, like, because this movie opens with what we would recognize today as an escape room, but as an 80s computer kid, I think of a game like Zork. You're in an open field.
Sure. Yeah.
And so this opens with you wake up in a bathtub. You don't know who you are. You have to determine the clues of your life from what's around you. And he wakes up with one, he's got a dot of blood on his forehead, like where he's bleeding. He's in a bathtub naked. He has a suitcase that has clothing that fits him. There's a postcard from a place called Shell Beach inside of it, wherein he suddenly has little flashbacks to childhood on a beach in the sunshine. And there's a dead woman on the floor, not just a dead woman, she is nude, and there are like spirals carved, like a ritual type of murder sort of thing. Spirals carved. There's a bloody kitchen knife on the coffee table. And he gets a phone call from Dr. Schraber being like, the experiment went wrong. People are coming for you. You must leave now. This is a great start to a film.
I know, right? Like, who do you trust? Is that, oh my gosh, it's great. It's very film noir in that it's like nobody is what they appear to be.
Yeah.
Even yourself. Jeffrey, can you even trust your own brain?
Yeah.
Here, take this pill.
Yeah.
Let me show you how this world works.
He just barely escapes getting out of this hotel as the men who are too long show
Ding
up.
dong. Who is that? It's the Slendermans. The Slendermans are here. Shall we get out the canapes?
I made an aspic.
They love that. Horse hoof aspic. That's their favorite.
Oh my God. So
but not only that, do we have like, I think this is freaking hilarious because we have a family of Slendermans. There's big tall Slenderman, there's Mama Slenderman, there's baby Slenderman, there's like, it's like the Goldilocks of Slenderman.
Yeah, I love that it's Big Papa Slenderman, Medium Papa Slenderman, and Baby Slenderman. It's so good.
One notable of whom, Mr. Hand, I believe, is played by Richard O'Brien of Rocky Horror Picture fame.
Oh, perfect. Okay, great.
perfect.
Yes.
He's the one who he becomes our Agent Smith, who like flips the script and becomes the mirror inverse of our hero, a la the Matrix.
Yep.
Who's like, I am an alien, but I tried to become human, and now I'm neither human or alien. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about the strangers and how they have these names? I love, we were talking off air about, so the
funny.
head stranger is named Mr. Book.
Mr. Book.
The one we spend the most time with, as you just mentioned, our Agent Smith of this movie is Mr. Hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept thinking about, we were talking about like, what is your stranger's name? And what would your stranger's name be?
I was thinking about this as I fell asleep, and it would be either Mr. Trumpet or Mr. Drumstick.
Okay.
And it would just be like I just imagined like a chicken, like fried chicken drumstick.
Mine would be Mr. Coffee.
Mr. Coffee.
I just kept thinking about them naming.
Listen, if we keep you clean, you'll run for decades.
That's right. Yeah, just a good vinegar wash once a month. Yeah, totally good. I kept thinking during this once we get to the scene where we hear all their names, I was flashing back to Reservoir Dogs where they're arguing about like, why am I Mr. Pink?
Yep. Yeah. Like we've got Mr. Rain, Mr. Sleep, Mr. Quick.
Yep.
And
Mr.
immediately,
just how'd you get that name, sir?
You're like, I gotta be Mr. Quick. It's not even a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Can I be Mr. Pillow? Or like Mr. I'm just looking at things in my room. I don't know. It's Mr.
Yeah.
Mr.
I want to be
Lampshade.
Mr. Now, not Mr. Adjective.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Mr. Lamp.
Yeah. What up, Mr. Dildo?
You're like, hello.
Okay, hello.
Hello, Mr. Vaseline.
Okay, so these guys have this tuning power that they have a collective consciousness wherein they can change the shape of the city, but they also have the very cool Ben Kenobi power of just waving their hand in a face and going, sleep now.
Sleep.
And people do. Oh yeah, so vampire.
Have you ever been to like one of those like a real magic like one of these modern magic shows that's like very like Chris Angel Mind Freak kind of thing, you know?
I've not been to like the big magic show. I've been to like Close Up Magic Castle in LA.
Yeah, like I think
like
I've always done that. But things where like they're putting people to sleep and like, you know, hypnotists and mesmerism, I've never really. I think like once at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and I was having a good time because it was late and I had had a few drinks, but I was like, I think I understand how they're doing all this.
Yeah.
I think, oh, that person's not real. That's a plant. And then 20 minutes later, sure enough, I was like, oh no, you see a demon. Oh, okay. No. Anyway, never mind.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. I've always been way more impressed with card tricks because I know how they're done, meaning it's 100% sleight of hand.
Yeah. It's just a lot of practice.
But it's just, that's so impressive because no matter how closely you look, you cannot see what they're doing. Whereas stuff like mesmerism feels like, I don't know, I've been in theater for a long time. I meet really good actors.
Yeah. And also like I saw Phantom of the Opera and listen, like I saw that chandelier fall to the stage and get applause. So I think I've seen everything I need to see in the world.
Well, you obviously did not see the helicopter in Miss Saigon.
I didn't. I did miss Saigon.
Okay, so we are going to meet lounge singer Emma, played by Jennifer Connelly.
Oh, she's so amazing. She's so beautiful.
Awesome.
And she's so fucking talented. Like talk about like this movie is such, in weird ways, it has like everything from like Kiefer Sutherland doing the absolute most to like Jennifer Connelly doing seemingly nothing. Like Jennifer Connelly of that school of acting is just like say the lines and like emote, and that's enough, which is great for like a sort of femme fatale. Are we supposed to trust her? Are we not? Like because our main character doesn't really know who this woman is, so she's a perfect sort of not blank slate, but like you know, like depending on where we are in the plot, the audience is like, wait, is she out to get him? Is she in on the thing? Is she not? So
Yeah.
but she like perfectly plays that ambiguity of lost in the sauce and also adding to the sauce.
Yeah. I love the simplicity of the acting choices by the supporting characters because,
Yeah.
like you said, like Kiefer Sutherland is doing a heightened style of performance, and she is doing, I think, a heightened style of minimalist performance, right? You know, even we open on her lip syncing the song, which is so clearly underplayed the lip movements of the type of voice coming out. And I think it works stunningly, actually.
Like her and William Hurt as well. Like I think
Yeah.
they're both like, I love the scenes when the two of them are together are amazing to me because it's like they're perfectly in tune with each other as to like it's neo-noir, but also like it, like we have to understand that these are kind of our barometers of sanity in this for our main character. So like these two have to be, there's no subtext. like like we have to understand that if they're confused, then that is important. If they get something, then we have to understand that that is also important, that they're, you know, like, so by the time our, you know, she says, wait, you really don't remember me? We're like, oh, okay, whew. There's no guile. There's no, you know, like double cross, you know, kind of thing going on.
Yes. So the basic idea here is that Jennifer or Emma and John are married. They've been apart. He got mad and left 3 weeks ago, has been staying at this hotel, this flop house downtown Gotham. And they haven't seen each other for 3 weeks because she had an affair. He got mad upon learning it, stormed out. This is what she remembers about all of this. She comes in contact with Dr. Schreiber, who's basically like, listen, he's got total amnesia. He's had a psychotic break. If he contacts you, find me immediately. Inspector Bumstead, this is William Hurt, he is investigating the murder of this sex worker inside the hotel room that John had been staying in. And this is one of these great things. I use this in writing all the time. It's one of my favorite things as a writer is repetition of language. So you create a phrase like the man who is not tall and the man who is not short. You know, all hail the glow cloud. Like it just, it's a touchstone that you just use the exact wording each time. And the reader or listener or viewer or whatever has that. One of the things that when John is leaving the hotel, I really loved the doorman, or not the doorman, the cashier, the clerk at the hotel is like, buddy, this is you paid for 3 weeks. Your time's up 10 minutes ago. It is cash on the barrelhead. That's what you owe. That's what makes you a guest here. Cash on the barrelhead. Well, later when Inspector Bumstead gets there, he's interviewing the hotel clerk, clearly a different man entirely. And the guy was like, well, I told him he owes cash on the barrelhead. And I love that because it tells you, wait a minute, why are people different? Why did people suddenly change physical form?
I mean, it also, like, you know, talk not to get like back into the conspiracy theory thing, but this idea of like language as a virus. Thank you, Laurie Anderson. This thing of like, why do we use certain phrases? Are we programmed to by our environment? Like what, you know, language as something that can be passed from person to person to person, and you almost don't even understand why you're using certain language. Is like, so red pill, blue pill, but it's a real thing. You know, like the idea of studying language as something that is like a living entity that, you know, like you have it hardwired in your DNA.
So John is out on the streets and he meets May, this beautiful sex worker on the streets. She kind of protects him. Some cops start harassing him, and she comes in and
because there's a serial, and not only has this person killed one prostitute, this person has killed like 6 prostitutes. So in a very Jack the Ripper, Black Dahlia kind of story. So the cops are like looking out for any single men who look suspicious.
And they're giving John a hard time at the automat, and this lady jumps in, clearly knows the cops, kind of fast talks them very, again, very noir language.
What do you know, May?
And they laugh it off and they get to leave. And So it's important to note that like he goes back to her house or whatever because things will happen later. So he's trying to get, I think with May, he kind of asks her like, "How do you know I'm not the killer?" And
Yeah.
she's like, "I
Yeah.
just know. Like
Yeah.
looking at you, I just know." But he leaves because he wants to find this fucking Shell Beach place.
Yeah.
Because he knows there's something about he's having memories which he shouldn't be having
Yeah.
about.
Childhood memories on the beach. And these memories are the only time we see sunlight.
Yes.
Which doesn't seem like a big deal at first, but after you're like 40 minutes in and our main character is starting to discover the threads, the threadbare parts of the stranger's world, you're like, that is odd, isn't it? Like, what time is it? AM
Yes.
or PM, sir?
Yes.
Have I been up all night or have I been up all day?
Yeah. Are we striking 12 midnight or 12 noon?
Yeah. Like, and everything is like grimy and it has that, like, it could be day outside, but the street lights are always on and the windows are always so dirty that it has that, like, listen, I've been in those bars in New York City where you're like, I think that's the sun coming up. How long have we been in here?
Oh yeah.
Or Las Vegas where they don't have windows at all.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a tiki lounge in Las Vegas that I was like, have we been in here for my entire life? we need to touch grass, please.
That was the thing about being at Meow Wolf, right? Because there's a lot of darkness. It's a lot of like moody, kind of weird, cool stuff. And then you step outside into 105-degree Dallas heat, sunshiny. I'm like, oh, I forgot it was daytime.
Reality is too hyper real.
Yeah. So he follows this billboard. He climbs up on top of this billboard for Shell Beach. It's kind of your classic, like, I don't know, it's very roadside Americana looking.
Well,
and
I'm trying to think, like, it's like I want to say in Blade Runner, I think it's Blade Runner, the like smoking, there was like, like putting a ring of smoke out. I can't remember what film that's from, but it's
totally.
what is it, retrofuturism.
Yeah, retrofuturism, and the model on the sign is like waving her arm, like, come to Shell Beach. Well, he gets up there and the strangers confront him and they try the sleep now trick, but it does not work.
Well,
so
and
then
they're
like
super confused because it's midnight. I think we've reached our second midnight. It's okay. I'm gonna not
start singing the last midnight.
I'm just not with the Sondheim today.
Yeah.
But it's good to know. Like at a certain point in this film, I was like, okay, count the midnights, and you do get a sense of how much time is passing. And this movie, which has a lot of flights of fantasy, can be grounded in these sort of when the sleep times.
Yes.
But those strangers are confused as fuck.
Yeah. I love that if sleep now doesn't work, let's try knife now. So they draw the knife. And
honestly, that's listen, I'm not saying I'm a trained nanny or childcare worker, but that's usually my go-to.
Okay, yeah. I would say knife now is probably step 5 or 6 if sleep now doesn't work. Yeah.
I find it a very effective step 2, as there's very rarely any step 3, 4, or 5 afterwards.
That's true. It's more efficient, but it can lead to questions and slow down your night at the end of the evening.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yep. A little bit more cleanup on the back end.
Yeah. Well, we also realize that John can also do the wavy head thing and cause like platforms to crumble. And, he starts, these strangers start falling to their deaths, get hung up on ropes. One of them gets the top of his head clean chopped off by the waving hand.
By the waving hand. I love it.
It's kind of the only moment of gore in this movie. We see blood. We see the dead bodies of the prostitutes that were killed, but they're more like stylish, like pulp novel cover type of thing. Yeah.
Like the violence in this is like we have, like we never see. Well, the blood is black for the strangers, so it doesn't register as blood. It almost more registers as black goo. And also, it more often than not, it'll either cut away or they're doing some really fucking amazing camera shots to like make you see what the director wants you to see without giving it like this very like, we're gonna crack open this and you're gonna see head exploding and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And also that is a pretty gory part because it's like blood splatter against the wall, like goopy, sloppy blood.
Mhm.
But when the body is laying there, we see like electrified tentacles coming out of the head. So we know these are aliens using human bodies to inhabit.
Invasion of the Body Snatcher
Yeah,
style.
yeah, it is body snatchers.
I mean, I also love this idea that like Shell Beach being, you know, throughout this movie, it's like we kind of learned the raison d'etre of these aliens is like, we need to figure out how humans work so we can help ourselves or some whatever fucking mysterious thing. It was something. But this idea that like, you know, fast forward to the end in which he's like, you all were looking in the brain, but you were looking in the wrong place, meaning like it's love. Love is, you know.
Yeah.
And so this idea of Shell Beach being like the ultimate human weapon, you know, like the love of family, the love of, you know, so I love it. It's like Shell Beach trumps the strangers every time.
Yes.
Because they can't conceive of water. They hate water. They hate sunlight. You need like an SPF 200.
Yeah.
You know, they got the zinc stuff, you know, that like turns your skin kind of purple.
There's also the undercurrent of American ideals in this plot too, because the other thing they're seeking, there's a thread to bring up Invasion of the Body Snatchers. There's a thread of communism in this too, right? Because the strangers all have a collective thought. They have a collective brain, whereas they're fascinated that why do humans all have individualism? Like how are they able to think, function, feel on their own? It's the other thing that they're exploring. Okay, so we've got the thing that's interesting here is that John's story is that he has memories from childhood, but his most immediate memories, he has memories of killing prostitutes. We see like little flashbacks of him standing with a bloody knife over a dead body, like quick little things, and he seems very confused, which is part of why he went home with May, not to sleep with her, not to kill her, but to see like what would I don't feel any reason to actually want to murder anyone. Or cheat on my wife. And Emma has these memories of having an affair on John. But it's going to come through as we go on. Like these memories are implanted. Like there's a good chance neither of these things has happened. Okay. Nobody can remember how to get to Shell Beach. I love this kind of recurring
how do you get to Avenue C? I don't know. Take you're on the local. You need the express.
Yes, the confusing
this sequence is so fucking real.
Yeah, the cab driver. Hey, cabbie's like, oh yeah, I remember Shell Beach. Yeah, you just take Maine. No, it's not Maine. It's
no, take the Midtown. No, don't take the Midtown. Not at this time of day. It's like an extended episode of like Curb Your Enthusiasm or like Seinfeld or something.
Yes. It is a Beckett play, right? Like, no, it's just, it's the absurdity of like, nobody has been there. When he's trying to do the train thing, he tries to get off switch. Somebody says, oh, you got to take the express, tries to switch to the express, but he's on the local. We see the express fly by, but kind of when you're looking closely into the windows of the express, there's no one on it.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
This is where it's in the details that big think pieces and theoretical things like this kind of fall apart. Like when he was looking at that map, I was like, there's a fucking subway map right there.
Yeah.
They change those subway maps every single night because we know that this city grows like mushrooms.
Yeah.
But they have to go in and like tinker with the details.
Yes.
Like they have to like, you know, in our next act, when we get to like the underground, how the sort of the underpinnings of how all this works, like we see long assembly lines of, we need to make 3 memories. We need to make 9 scrapbooks. Get those kitten stickers out. Live, laugh, love. Make those dream boards for these characters that used to be cabbies and are now aristocrats.
Yes.
They need ideals. But like, if you're changing things all the time, like if you've ever lived in it's this frustration, I think, of like, especially America with like, the idea of like we're clinging on to like old ideas of like you know the 20th century, but all of a sudden those ideas are changing so rapidly that like, you know, it's like you look, it's like looking at a map
Mm-hmm.
of a city that has changed, but the map hasn't been updated.
Yeah. That's totally it.
You know,
There's a moment when they're updating the city with it. So this kind of midpoint in the movie, we see the city shaping. We see
3
they're
midnights
changing.
gone.
So the kind of the main one with that they demonstrate is there's this like very middle class, like honeymooners type couple, small apartment. She's got hair curlers in. They're like, he's talking about the job at the factory, whatever. They're kind of spatty sort of couple, right?
Yeah.
And then we see them come into the room with Dr. Schreiber. They inject they inject both the couple's foreheads. They change their clothes into like fine dining attire, like tuxedo and nightgown. They elongate the table. They change to candelabras. Then suddenly when they wake up, they're like, and I told the old chap that I thought it was time we let him go. She was like, good on you.
He was lollygagging on the job. Cheerio.
It's a very like silly comedic beat.
It's funny, but it's like we as an audience need to see it to be like, wait, how is all this working? And I think it's gorgeous, but it all does seem a little bit analog. Like they literally have a paper notebook with like Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Billy Smith and Carol Smith. Okay, check. Like,
yes,
like y'all are like on a space island spaceship.
Yes.
And you need a notebook to keep track of who's rich and who's poor and who's nice and who's mean and who's naughty. Like, I think, listen, I'm not saying you need a project manager, but somebody could streamline this process a little bit.
So I think each night they have like just a couple of people that they change out. Like they
I don't think they don't do everybody at once.
And we learn later through Dr. Schreiber that they would, they were interested in like why humans murder or what makes a murderer. Sure. Is it because you're told you're a murderer, nature nurture? Like, are you just naturally a murderer?
So, yeah. We're getting really deep into it.
You put memories in a person that they are a murderer, and you see if that narrative makes them a murderer, if they. So, I think they're just replacing a couple people. But then I started really thinking about like, wait a minute, let's say they just take Symphony, our friend Symphony.
Okay.
And
they helped us pick this movie, by the way.
Yes, and she is. She's an actor. She's a podcaster. She's like, she lives in Chicago. She is an aerialist. She teaches yoga, fitness, Zumba classes, things like that. Let's say they're like, she is going to now work at the Ford factory in Dearborn or wherever they're located.
Awesome.
They inject her brain. They move her out. They change all of her memory. She's never been an actor, never been an aerialist, never whatever. So wouldn't we notice that she was gone? That was my question. Wouldn't you and I, as we're readying the next Night Vale tour, would be like, you're just call Symphony, see what her travel dates are. We're like, where did she go?
The thing is that we would get a new Symphony. Somebody who looks totally unlike our old Symphony would show up in her play, like somebody who was working on an assembly line in a very repetitive job. And they're like, okay, now we're going to put them in a creative job and be like,
they do
make a dance piece, then, like that kind of thing.
I guess my thinking was, wouldn't they have to come inject us so we wouldn't notice that suddenly like they replace Symphony with somebody who is clearly not Symphony. So then once you replace one person, you have to start replacing everybody's minds. Yeah.
But I think this is where the Edward Hopper, the alienation of the modern age comes in. Do you really know your neighbors? Do you really know your coworkers? Do you really know, this idea that modern living, we've replaced a sense of, I know, like the sort of like, 1800s, like the sort of Mark Twain era of like, I know everyone in Hannibal, Missouri, and I know every single person by name, like there's this guy, that, blah, 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 to this sort of 20th century idea of don't know me. Let me be anonymous, and I will accept the consequences when I feel real sad and have no one to talk to.
Yeah. So the strangers are obviously really terrified of John. and they're like, he must be stopped, he must be collected, because he's going to ruin the whole charade we have put on. So their solution to this, because they've been unable to catch him, because he can tune, and that's crazy because no human should be able to do that. And it's never really explained why he was able to tune, but for whatever reason,
everyone's mystified.
He's gotten this individual power, which has always been a collective power. He's adapting. Very quick evolution. So what they decide to do is they're going to take Mr. Hand and they're going to inject him with I was
going to make a really dirty joke.
We'll go for it.
No, it's gone now.
Okay. Well, I do like, we were Symphony and I were both in Dallas at Meow Wolf, but we were laughing about the dirty joke of the stranger. That's where you sit on your hand to make it numb. So that it feels like somebody else.
You're like, so who are you? Oh gosh, I'm just at this movie theater. What's happening? Why am I being arrested? That wasn't me.
So I was not immune to giggling at the idea that Mr. Hand is a stranger.
Oh yeah, the strangest of strangers. No, I gotta say, that I love this sort of act, because this is where we move from Fritz Lang and Orson Welles into City of Lost Children territory.
Yeah.
And we get to see, Jeffrey, I have a question for you. I almost texted this to you, but I didn't want to tip my hand. What do you call a flock of pinheads?
What is
this? This is not a joke. It's
what
just
is a group of pinheads called? Sort of like a murmuration of starlings, or a
murder of crows,
a parliament of owls. That's a
chattering of pinheads.
Oh yes, it is a chattering of pinheads.
Because we didn't say this before, but whenever these strangers are tuning, they do the like, which is very Pinhead, Hellraiser, which I don't know, just makes the enamel on my teeth hurt, which I think is the intention. But it's shocking once, because we've only seen like our Slenderman family, the sort of the baddies, but then we go below ground and there's like hundreds of them, and it's all very like Count Dooku lighting, the sort of like, almost like an operating theater.
Yes.
And we realize that every night at midnight, they have to collectively make the machine work by doing the chattering. And there's literally a giant head that splits open and a clock face comes out. And they go, Om Shanti Shanti, and the clock stops.
Yep.
And that's how they make this sort of adjustments every night. But it's really it's like anti-utopia 7 12 Monkeys, City of Lost Children, beautiful dystopia underneath everything, which is such a beautiful contrast to the nostalgia of the above world.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Hand gets injected with all of John Murdoch's memories, and we realize some of them are real, some of them are fake. It's sort of tough to know whether or not, because I think the existential question at the end is like, where did John come from? Did he actually experience any of this? And he probably did not.
I know. I'm leaning for no one is like, the real memories have been shell gamed so many times. No one's the original shell to cup.
Yeah. So he, that I think this is kind of sort of fun, interesting thinking for this Mr. Smith character, this Mr. Hand character, because he is like, well, obviously getting injected with his memories doesn't tell us where he is now, but it lets us know everyone he knows.
Yes.
And then now we can be the black hat detective. We can be
clues.
We can be the evil detective and do our work here. And he knows through these memories that Emma, when she wants time to herself, goes and sits on the dock. And
more repeated language. Oh my God, that scene is so beautiful and short and creepy.
Yes.
In which a stranger approaches you and says verbatim something that someone you know and love
Yeah.
has said to you. Like that's like nightmare shit right there.
It's such a great line too, because these strangers have such a stilted, specific way of speaking.
Yeah.
And that it's not aesthetic, it's not beautiful, it is direct, it's whatever. And he says there used to be a fairy here and it lit up like a floating birthday cake. So it's a very specific piece of poetic language,
imagery.
And it's also the type of imagery that is anathema to the aesthetic of this city.
They would for sure.
And birthday cake, candles, any of that.
And something that like these strangers would never be able to make that jump.
Yes.
Like they don't really get simile or metaphor or alliteration or they're like Mr. Toy Set, Mr. Train, Mr. I don't know.
Yeah. Mr. Coffee. Mr. Coffee.
Mr. Coffee.
Yeah.
Mr. Coffee, make a poem.
Mr. Mousepad, get over here. Take a note. The other thing that's happening with Mr. Hand that I love is he keeps referring to when they refer to John, he keeps saying we, like he is John. He and John are one and the same.
Yeah.
So he's one, becoming somebody else that is outside of the Strangers Collective. Yeah. And two, he is still using his notion that we are a collective. Mm-hmm. We are we. But now he is the we of John Murdoch. He is the human we instead of the stranger we.
God, the Matrix really did just like wholesale lift a lot of stuff. Like when you say it out loud, I'm like, oh yeah, they really just did a number. They're like, okay, done. 3 movies. There you go. And a very weird reboot 20 years later.
Yes. Okay, so now Emma is going to get tied up with Inspector Bumstead. She goes into
we gotta ground, like in this, we gotta ground some shit in the real, like what is actually happening here.
I don't fully understand some of this. I don't quite understand why she ends up in the prostitute May's apartment, but she finds May because she knew he
just sort of wanders in.
Yeah, it's very confusing. Weird. But she does find this woman's body, and I don't know if Mr. Hand let her. I don't know what happened, but Inspector Bumstead is there.
Yeah.
And now they're like, we're going to team up to find this guy because she wants to find her husband. Yep. He wants to find the suspect and the killer of these whatever. And they both know shit's weird. We should figure this thing out.
You know what's so weird? Let's go talk to this crazy cop.
Walensky?
Yeah, I fucking love Walensky. I love this guy. He's a Renfield. He's the like, he knows too goddamn much and it's broken his mind. Like it's so 12 Monkeys this. The idea of like, what happens when you take a peek behind the Matrix and then you have to go back and work your desk job?
Yeah.
Is it weird that that's the character that I identify most with, Jeffrey?
Oh yeah. With
Walensky, that I'm like I would play the fuck out of that role.
Oh yeah. It looks like a really fun role to play. This guy actually does a really great job with it because he does crazy, but he does believable crazy.
Believable crazy, sympathetic. Like it's like his eyes are saying help me, but his mouth is saying aggressive.
Yes.
He does have one of my least favorite tropes, or the most overused trope, to be like writing on the walls. Like the obsessive spiral on the wall kind of thing.
There was that, and for me, my least favorite trope is, it's a hell world, but I found a way out, man. And then he throws himself in front of a train. I'm like,
listen, if you think that there's aliens controlling you, why do you think, like, I don't know, just start, I don't know, never mind. Just start digging in one direction is really like, which is essentially what they do. They're like, when you hit a wall, go through the wall, like just go north.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yep. Wherever there is a brick wall, there will be 2 sledgehammers sitting right by it conveniently for you to start smashing it open.
Absolutely.
John goes to see, he figures out through this postcard that he has an Uncle Carl.
Mm-hmm.
And he figures out where this Uncle Carl is in the city, goes to talk to him. Uncle Carl also doesn't remember how to get to Shell Beach, but he remembers growing up there. He finds his old scrapbook that he made as a kid, and it is empty. Like every page is blank. But later he's going to be
weird. What's weird is that he's seen pictures, like Uncle Carl is showing him a slideshow of him drawing in it.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. Later we're going to see this thing brought back to him, this scrapbook brought back, and it's going to be filled with pictures once again.
And this is kind of weak sauce when Dr. Schreiber is like, you filled it with your mind magic. And I was like, did he? Wouldn't he have known that?
Yes.
I think it was like, and the symbol. I kind of love this like assembly line of memories.
Yeah.
Because in a weird, like that shot of like, as we're down in the cat going backwards a bit, but this idea of like, we need to make 12 scrapbooks and 13 memory boards and blah, 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 blah. Like, isn't that prophetic for the rise of social media? Isn't that they're like, I need a 20 photo soundtracked montage of my trip to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Go.
Well, and we're like 10 years away at this point, maybe even less, when this movie is made, from the popularizing of the Mandela effect, right? The idea that we have misremembered that Nelson Mandela did not die in prison.
Yeah.
We've misremembered that it is the Berenstain Bears, not the Bernstein Bears.
Yeah. So virus is the language. Thank you, Laurie Anderson.
Yeah.
You just say something wrong enough times and it's suddenly not wrong. It's actually right.
Yeah. So now we get this kind of action sequence wherein at midnight, the strangers track down John. They know he's going to go see his Uncle Carl.
Kingdom.
And now everything is changing. The buildings are growing up in the city and changing.
Dope.
It's so cool.
I mean, like this sequence, you can tell that this was there's so much interesting shit going on here. And the look of it is really fascinating. And like how they did it is a mix of live action and models. And it's really beautifully put together.
It really is. And so like the idea that you're having to jump from roof to roof is a classic trope in a thriller.
Sure.
But in this case,
along the rooftops.
Yeah, along the rooftops. But in this case, the buildings are changing size. So now, and sometimes the buildings are pressing together. So at one point he's on a fire escape, which normally the only answer is up or down. And in this case, another building is growing towards him, so he has to smash the window and go inside. Which I think
Doctor Strange. Cool. Doctor Strange ain't got nothing on this movie.
No,
this is it's like a proto version of that. Of like, what if of like the Marvel thing of like, what if the city, the world is moving around you, kind of shit.
There's a point where he's hanging on to. He goes out a door and there's nothing there. It's just a open door on the side of a skyscraper. He catches himself just in time on the door ledge hanging off the side of this growing building. And that creepy little boy stranger starts biting his hand.
But doesn't really bite him. It just sort of like
yeah.
Like the way a cat bites you when it's had enough pets.
Yes.
Like it's not a real bite. It's more of a like it just sort of rests its tooth on your skin.
This is such a cool escape, though, because there's a chimney stack growing up next to him.
Yep.
So he's able to leap over and grab onto that, get to the roof. All of this chase sequence is super dope. What ends up happening is as the world comes back to life, Inspector Bumstead and Emma show up and save him, drive him away,
and rescue him. Which I at this point, this is not a short action sequence, and also I gotta say the score for this film is great. It's really it really evokes like old Hollywood, lush, tense film score. So a lot of these action sequences are a feast for the eyes, but also like just zero in on the sound, and the score is amazing. But I did kind of giggle a little bit. Like we just watched like a 10-minute action sequence in which he's like leaping from roof to roof and and then he finally gets down and he is literally where he started. Literally where he started, in front of Neptune's tunnel, or whatever the name of that place is. Neptune's hideaway. I know, for plot reasons, because we have to get the three main characters together so they can all be like, what have you discovered? I've discovered. Okay, now we need a
Yeah.
little info dump.
Yeah. So he Bumstead takes John to the
Yep.
jailhouse, to police headquarters.
Yep.
He's interrogating him. He doesn't, and this is where John is kind of turning it back onto him. Like, listen, tell me how to get to Shell Beach. He's like,
Yeah.
He doesn't remember. He's like, do you remember daylight? When was the last time you saw the sun?
Do you
And
remember
he
last
can't
week?
remember. Yeah.
Like, tell me a memory, not from childhood memory, but like, what'd you eat for dinner yesterday?
Yeah. And he can't do it. He can't piece it together. And this is kind of the point where Bumstead is like, I think there's something more going on than just a serial killer.
Yeah.
And I don't think this guy is it. But he's got John in jail.
Yeah. John even levitates that little fucking book for him. He's like, how do you explain that, huh?
Yeah.
and he's then, like, fake news. I don't know.
I love the scene with Emma where they have the classic trope of lovers on other side of the plexiglass window in jail talking through the phone to each other.
And Jennifer Connelly is playing, like, she like throws that coat. Like, it is so Greta Garbo, you know, like everything is very grand and dramatic and romantic and tragic.
Yes. And I love the question that he has, because she's apologizing for the affair I never meant to harm. And he's like, wait a minute, though. I don't think the affair ever happened. In fact,
I think we just met.
I think we just met yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think they put memories of us being in love into our minds.
Just to see what we would do.
Yes. Which I think he's right. And it does beg the question of, like, how do you know you're in love? I mean, it is a deeply existential question about romanticism. Like, why are you suddenly in love with somebody?
Like, is there such a thing as a soulmate? Is there such a thing as well, you have to have a soul if you have a soulmate.
And I think the film's answer to this question is yes, you can just have a soulmate and it doesn't matter what else, because he uses tuning to shatter the glass, reach across, and then they have a
big old Hollywood kiss
before being dragged away by the guards.
Oh my God, it's so classic.
It's wonderful. So the strangers show up at police headquarters, start just walking around, sleep now, sleep now, sleep now, sleep now.
Jeffrey. Now, there are moments in a very indulgent way. I was like, they have to literally make every police officer go to sleep before they can get, like, the chief of police to unlock him, when you can just get the jabroni that works at the front desk. But what's happening,
or you can create doorways with your mind. Just make a hole in the side of the building and grab him,
and then just fly away. But what I love is that we've got a bit of trickery, because we simultaneously have Inspector Bumstead picking up the keys and Bumstead has been, like, told, oh, the chief wants to talk to you. But Bumstead, our Mr. Doubting Thomas, is now no longer, he's a believing Samuel, or whatever that.
Sure.
Not a thing. But no, he has lifted John Murdoch out of jail. Yes. Just in the nick of time.
Yes. And they go, so they get John sprung before the strangers can get to him. And then they go to see Dr. Schraber.
Yes.
And Dr. Schraber is like, listen, the only way to make you understand what's going on is I need you to inject yourself with this syringe.
Bitch, no. How about you tell me what's, and, like, there's so many times they're like, tell me what's in there. And it's like, you just have to do it, man. I'm like, listen, I've done a lot of drugs in my day. And if somebody can't tell you what's in a drug or what the effects are going to be, even a little, don't do that. Yeah. Just don't. What's in this? If you can't tell me what's in it, I don't want it.
Back when I was just out of college living in Dallas, some friends of mine and I went to the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum in Arlington, Texas.
Sure.
And it's super cute and silly and touristy and whatever. Yeah. We had a good time. But there is one section for, like, in the kind of kidsy tactile area of it, where you learn things and play with things and whatever. There's a machine. There's a series of, like, holes in this machine that are, like, covered in, like, fabric, and you can stick your hand in and feel what's there.
This
to
is
try
what
and
a tumor
guess.
Feels like.
Well, to try and guess what the object is just by touch, which I think is kind of a neat
Yeah.
idea, especially
To isolate a single sense.
to isolate that sense. And, also probably, very educational, whatever. And, my friend Sherry stuck her hand in there and she's like, oh, this is totally a turtle. And then you press the button above it and it shows you the photo of what it is. And it was like a turtle, not a living turtle, of course, but whatever. I was like, and she was like, Jeffrey, do it. Do it. And I was like, no. And I refused to do it. And they're like, which one would you have done, though? And I was like, I guess this one closest to me. And I pressed the button and it was a tarantula. And
you just knew.
I just knew. And it,
the gift of fear, Jeffrey, the gift of fear.
I'm super arachnophobic.
Yeah.
And I had to sit down on the floor for a second because I was so like, it's like almost getting hit by a car. And you know that your life would have ended.
You're like, if I had put my hand in there, like your worst nightmares would have come true.
And so essentially, when Dr. Schraber's like, inject yourself, I'm like, no. I need to fully know what's going to happen first.
Like you can't sum it up for me. And this is all being done like at gunpoint in also this sort of bathhouse, like the idea that the strangers don't like water, so there is this one place he can come and think and be human.
Yeah,
but he's also like trying to get John to inject himself at gunpoint.
Yes, but thankfully Bumstead is there at other gunpoint, and it's like, no. Our better idea is we're all going to Shell Beach. Let's do it.
Take us to Shell Beach.
They find that the bridge is out, so they take a boat onto the canal. And then when they get to Shell Beach, what they find, it is just a giant billboard at the dead end of town.
Yeah.
There's a couple sledgehammers just sitting right there. I don't know why John can't use his superpowers to tune the door open.
You can literally make doors, dude.
But they bust this wall open and it is just empty space.
Well, space. Oh, not empty space, but like starry space.
Yeah, starry space. So they are in outer space, is what we realize. I love the difference between cracking up the wall of this giant spaceship in this movie versus what it means in a movie like Aliens.
Yeah.
Wherein you have to hang on for dear life in Aliens to not get sucked out.
Yeah.
In this environment, it's just like, well, just don't get too close to it. You should be fine.
It's like just edge fear. It's just more like, just don't go like 3 feet. Keep 3 feet distance and you'll be fine. Unfortunately, the strangers show up at that exact moment because Mr. Hand has sort of kidnapped Emma and kind of is put together that he's not entirely sure the next move, but they think Shell Beach is it. And sure enough,
that's where they get to. And John, there's a showdown, right? It's your classic hostage situation.
Yep.
He doesn't have Emma at gunpoint. Well, he has her at knife point, right? He's got it, and he's like, I will kill her. And, John tries to play the negotiation game, being like, oh, clearly I don't even know her. You implanted these memories. And he's like, yes, but aren't those memories feel pretty real, don't they? And he's like, you're right. Sleep now. John goes to sleep.
Because John has been up for like 4 days solid.
Yes. Yeah, he's not gone to sleep at all.
Which is another sort of like weird internet, like the thing of like, you know that I want to say after 24 hours, for every 12 hours you spend awake, it's the equivalent of having like a beer. So like you essentially just get like sleep drunk.
Yes.
When you stayed up too long. But I also think it's like kind of a lot of these conspiracy theories that are born on the internet have been like, I've been playing fucking Minecraft for 12 hours and I'm in my full, let's go to see what Reddit said. It's like maybe some nighttime.
Yeah. It's the John Scalzi rule of Comic-Con, right?
5-2-1.
5-2-1, 5 hours of sleep, 2 meals, 1 shower. And
every
sunshine.
24 hours.
Every 24 hours.
24 goddamn
you
hours.
need those minimums, 5, 2, and 1. You can do more of them, and that's great.
Great.
So there's a I do love that there is a struggle, by the way, at this empty at the open hole to outer space. And Inspector Bumstead ends up in a wrestling match with a stranger and they get sucked out. And kind of what happens with this moment, which we know this guy's going to die, right? Inspector Bumstead is kind of a supporting good guy. He's going to die in this movie, and he does.
Yeah.
He gets sucked out. But as he's drifting away, he sees, and thus we see for the first time, the whole of the city is one giant flat Earth disc in the middle of space.
Is it just turtles all the way down, Jeffrey?
It's turtles all the way down the line.
There's no turtles. But there are weird, but I love, like, what a weird design. It's like flat Earth, but then underneath it has the sort of baubles that are the quote machine that is, so it's really, it's just fascinating. It's a like beautiful moment to give us some perspective, because we're clearly in Act 4 and we're like, where the living fuck are we?
Yeah. So we get John gets taken to their basement, the basement of the Council of Strangers, and
Jeffrey,
strapped to a giant wheel. I love strapped to a giant wheel.
I love strapped to, but I was going to say you passed over like what looks like it would be a super fun amusement fair ride if it wasn't used for an evil machine. The get into this very small compartment that moves very quick and gives you a panoramic view of the workings of this thing that looks like it'd be super fun if it was at like Six Flags.
Yes.
But it's actually evil, so we're not having fun right now.
They're taking the runaway mine train to work.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
But like H.R. Geiger's runaway mine train.
Yes. He's strapped to this thing in front of the whole council. That we get a close up of that little baby stranger alien boy going, kill him.
Oh my God.
Good.
And everyone goes, kill. God, who doesn't love a creepy child saying kill?
No one.
I mean, that's also part of my, I'm not a childcare professional, but I do have ideas.
Mm-hmm. I do love a hollow-eyed child shouting violence. So the plan here from Mr. Book is, honestly, the time for studying humans is done.
Oof.
We have the one human.
Hello,
we need to make him a part of us.
Yes. So
if we made him a part of us, if you can't beat him, join him. Meaning, we need to get this very powerful person on our side. Because if we had his power, instead of destroying his powers, we should absorb them. Great idea, actually. And so so he says every night.
A socialist?
Yeah,
Jeffrey.
Right.
What are you? A socialist? So you want to just make everybody neutral? Everybody, is that how it works? Nobody's special in your world?
That's right. That's totally it. I would love that. As long as we all get free healthcare, it'd be great.
Jesus Christ.
So he says, shut it down forever. Like every night at midnight, he says, shut it down, meaning shut down temporarily, reboot with new things. Shut it down forever.
The Skinner, the BF Skinner? That's the psychologist that did the rats and which was projected in the beginning. The idea of like, can you make an animal do something that is against its nature kind of shit?
Yes.
They're like, shut that Psych 101 experiment down.
That's right. We are done with zoo management. we're gonna do something else.
Sims is terrible. Reboot.
So Dr. Schraber's task here is they have had him make a syringe that is filled with the collective memories of
the black goo.
Black goo, the collective memories of the collective consciousness of the strangers, meaning once you inject him, his memories will be all of their memories, meaning he will just be one of them.
Which doesn't sound like I mean, I know it's villain logic and we're supposed to think it's villain logic because Ian Richardson is Mr. Book and he's very villainy.
Yes.
But also, like, in the interest of science, that sounds kind of like, don't you want to know where these people came from?
Yeah, don't you want to know about like how you can keep because the question this movie never answers is, what does this race of alien need to live? Because the idea is their race is dying off. So clearly they don't like water or sunlight.
Okay.
So what about the humans? Is it that they need to learn individuality in order to stay alive? Or do they need to actually just become stronger to stay? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what what resource they ran out of
Yeah.
that was causing them to slowly become extinct.
Because all they say is that we're dying, we need to study humans, but then they say that they put their alien bodies in human corpses, so you can live a long ass time like that, but apparently not so long.
And then,
Counterpoint,
are they
you
not
can literally,
reproducing?
you cannot reproduce. No, I think that's like beyond the pale for them.
Yeah.
Like, and I think the child is maybe like a failed experiment. I kind of saw him as like,
Oh yeah.
let's make a child and see what, or they like put an alien in a child to be like, do you feel like a kid? And he's like,
Mhm.
they're like, okay, not a child. Counterpoint, you can build cities that float in space. Listen, little, so I have to give up some individual freedom, but I get to, be super smart and live in space. I don't know. Would you?
Yeah. Yeah. Big questions. Big
Big questions.
So this
There's
is
trickery afoot.
There is trickery afoot. So that the idea is Dr. Schraber's supposed to inject him with the black goo, but earlier he had given John that syringe,
which is white goo.
Which is white goo.
Like literally white and gold versus black and black. Just in case it was.
Is it white and
confused.
Gold or is it black and blue? I can't tell by looking at it.
Oh my god. So like, look at this photo. Tell me what you see.
He so he pulls that out of John's pocket because this is the thing he wanted John to take earlier.
Yeah.
And he injects John with that. And I fucking love this. I love it so much. It's such a good twist moment. It's so clever. It's stupid and clever and all of that. Yeah. But we get the same kind of like rapid fire flashes of memories, like kid running on Shell Beach, a house fire that killed his family, something else. He meets his wife, he falls in love, he kisses, whatever, she has an affair. But
the same memories we've seen, the John Murdoch memories. Yeah.
But scattered throughout it starts zooming. It starts zooming in on like the ice cream salesman on Shell Beach, and it's Kiefer Sutherland being like, "Hey there, John. Yeah, good job. This is how you. You're learning how to tune. Keep at that, my boy."
But it's like Kiefer Sutherland as we know him in like an idealized Kiefer.
Yes.
Like, he doesn't have the stutter. He doesn't have like he's legit turned into Obi-Wan Kenobi at this point.
I love when he says, "And remember what I told you, Johnny, never talk to strangers." It's so funny. I love it. It's so good.
God. But he's like, we don't have time. You've got to learn a lot of information in a very short amount of time. And while he's absorbing his tuning ability, everybody, all the strangers are like, what's happening down there? Why is he not chattering his teeth like he ought to be doing?
Yeah, I really love the implanting of memories here. Like this is Inception, but fun and good, right? And it's like
Inception. Yeah,
and it's and I love the depiction of this little flash of him sitting in a schoolhouse, and his teacher is his teacher is Kiefer Sutherland explaining what's going to happen in the future. Here's how this will work. You must take control of the machine they use in order to control the world. I'm giving you a lifetime of knowledge in a single syringe. And he does.
Can you do that? Actually, I
probably.
Listen, I did a lot of drugs in the Amazon, and I think that one was on the menu, but I was not feeling up for it that day.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I don't need to look God in the face and scream for 25 minutes. I'm good. I think I'm okay.
So the strangers are like, wait a minute, and they realize that Dr. Schreiber Liev Schreiber has
Liev Schreiber Sutherland.
Yep. Has given him the wrong thing. But John comes to, and now he might these poor actors, God bless.
Oh my God. You know what we got? We got a good old-fashioned wizard fight here.
We did with Rufus Sewell and Ian Richardson. These very, very incredibly talented men.
Yeah.
Stood in front of a green screen.
Yeah.
and just pretended to mind blast each other
Ah!
by like screaming, grunting,
Yep.
twisting their face into a snarl, and staring intensely at each other. And then later somebody added in mind waves that blasted everything.
Mind waves. No, this is not all green screen. Like, I get the impression that these sets are huge, Jeffrey. Like, this is a beautiful, like, big set. The CGI mind waves are, but it's very like high art concept scanners.
Okay.
You know, like the whole thing in scanners where they can make each other's mind explode if they just like
yes,
concentrate hard enough. It's that, but like way more artsy.
Yeah. So he just starts blasting everybody to high holy hell.
People are flipping around.
Strangers are being sucked into space.
It's Gandalf and Saruman all over again.
They rise up above the city. They get high above the rooftops, and Mr. Book throws a knife because if sleep now don't work, it's time for knife now. And he throws knife. He knife nows at John, but John
he does
concentrates hard enough to stop.
He like catches it with his mind.
Yep.
And then it spins, and then he blasts it at Mr. Book, and but not only that, he pushes Mr. Book back, but then like makes a water tower grow and shoves him into an exploding water tower.
Yes. So now we've got the aliens are all mostly taken care of, and now we've got sort of Dr. Schreiber is still alive.
Because all we see is the aliens just sort of get involuntarily sucked up into the air.
Yeah.
And up into the city. And then gone?
Yeah.
Like, it's very out of sight, out of mind. Like, there's so much shenanigans happening in the end of this movie that they're like, shush. It's a big battle. Don't think too hard.
Yeah.
But I'm like, where the fuck are they going?
I think that what we're gonna, I think when we run, he's gonna run into Mr. Hand in just a second. And
Mr. Hand is sure. Mr. Hand's he's Mr. Smith though.
Right, but Mr. Hand is still alive, but he is dying.
Sure. Oh, I see your point. Yeah.
And I think the idea is they're all going to fade out pretty soon anyway. So I think they're not all eradicated, but they are defeated. Like they don't,
because if you split your consciousness up between 100 strangers and then you kill 96 of those strangers, the remaining 4 are not going to be so happy.
And also they still, for their communal sort of approach to thought, they are hierarchical, right?
Yes.
Mr. Book is their central leader.
Yeah.
So anyways, John learns from Dr. Schreiber that unfortunately, they got to Emma. She's not dead, but they gave her a whole new set of memories unrelated to you. She is now named Anna. Sorry, bud. And he says, what are you going to do now, John? And John says, I'm going to fix things. I can make this world anything I want.
I'm going to Shell Beach.
And he's like, I'm going to make this world anything I want. And he mind blasts the city, and suddenly there's an ocean. And suddenly he spins it and there's sunlight, you know.
Which I was like, was the sun always there?
And how does gravity work there if this thing doesn't? Well, I don't know.
Where did that sun come from?
Yeah.
Because even if did he make a sun? Did he just because it looks like he just positioned the space world toward the sun. But
I think that's what he did.
But even if there was a sun, that sun would shine on something.
Well, it would shine on
on the city side.
It would shine on the other side, because I think if you were on the dark side of the moon, like completely opposite the sunshine side, I don't.
But that would. But tops have bottoms.
That's true.
That's how things work. I took these Sarah Griffin shapes.
She took shapes in high school.
I know how shapes work.
I was in
Jeffrey
AP
Cranor.
shapes.
I understand that shapes have a top and a bottom and an inside and outside. And if you shine a flashlight on one side of a shape, the other side will be in darkness. However, you can't just like flip the. You can't just. Huh?
Well, you can, right? Like if like we do that on the Earth all the time, right? Like I'm currently on the sunshine side of the Earth.
So okay.
But in like 12
hours,
I'll be in the opposite side.
So the underside of Dark City, the underbelly, was
Mhm.
just light didn't penetrate into it.
It was just on the nighttime side of the planet. Even though the planet
No,
is
the
a
top
disk.
side was the nighttime side.
That's what I mean. The side they lived on was facing away from the sun. So like at night tonight, at 2
I'm
in the
thinking more
morning.
of the no, I'm thinking more of the strangers, like the strangers who do not like light.
Oh, we're on the
We're
well,
on the light side.
but that part probably has no windows.
I think
I think
that was
that's
where
it. So
I
the
needed to
sunshine is
make that
hitting
jump.
the building that they live in. So they're on the sunny
Mhm.
side, but there's no windows in their house. Not even a skylight.
So it is like a tiki lounge in Las Vegas.
Yep. Okay, so
This has been Shapes on
that's
Random
right.
Horror 9.
Yep. So now he's gonna okay, well, we run into Mr. Hand, he's dying.
Mhm.
This is where he says you won't find what makes us humans in our brains. You're looking in the wrong place. Unfortunately,
What,
for the
like
part of me that loves super silly shit, he
your
never
testicles?
touches his heart and says it
No,
was in here all along.
no. I
Or
was good. Just
true
points to his
humanity is
crotch.
the friends we met along the way. He
No,
points
it's just
into
like
his
he
pants.
like just pulls a Kristen Wiig and just is like bow bow. That's where the magic happens.
You'll find it in your own butthole.
Yep, that's it.
But he pivots the city towards sunlight. He builds a pier along Shell Beach with his mind, and he follows Anna, formerly Emma, on the bus out to Shell Beach. And it's really inexplicable why she's there, other than like she just happens to be taking a vacation to Shell Beach at the time. I don't know.
It's almost like, yeah, it's like she, it's this thing of, listen, I believe in a lot of like weird stuff, but this idea of like, soulmates require you have a soul. So like,
Yeah,
you felt compulsively drawn to a place you've never been before. Follow that instinct. That's
I
your
think
true
that's a
self.
great idea. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Yeah,
Like the
and
brain
so
might tell you one thing, but like, what's in here, Jeffrey? And I'm now pointing dramatically to my heart. To my heart center.
Yeah, to your heart, not to your crotch.
Well, I mean that too, but that's a different chakra. Here, let me get my singing bowls. I think that'll really drive home my point.
So he
3 hours later.
he goes to stand he creates the door, he walks through the door, and then for the first time in live action, not a flashback, not a quick cut, he steps out into bright sunshine.
Yep.
And there she is at the end of this dock. And
they don't know each other, or she doesn't recognize him.
She doesn't recognize him, and she's, she talks about, it's so beautiful here, it's so bright. He's like, do you know if Shell Beach is around here? And she says, I'm heading that way. Would you like to join me? He says, sure. And she says, I'm Anna. He says, I'm John. The end.
I thought they missed a trick in that I thought they, this is where like I thought they could have used that repeated language one more time.
Yeah.
If he had said to her, there used to be a ferry here.
Yeah.
That used to light up like, and if she had not consciously remembered, but something, I think like it was such a strong moment, and it was last time it was used in such like a dark place to. Yeah, whatever. It was fine. It was all great.
It was fine. I love the idea. Like I remember when I first saw this movie, and it made me think of the hypothetical, like if I could go back in time, like, oh man, if I knew then what I knew now, if I knew in elementary school what I know now as an adult, boy, I would have been like awesome in class, or I would have not made the same mistakes, right, in my life. I probably, but if you start thinking too much about, if I could go back to high school, me, Jeffrey Cranor, knowing what I know now, if I could go back to high school, I mean, obviously knowing that I've become an artist, I've become a writer, fiction writer, theater person, performance artist, whatever. There's no way I would have gone to Texas A&M University, which is not known for this shit.
Which would not have put you, the problems that
you would
overcome.
And the theater kids I met there, including Jillian, right? Like the theater kids who somebody was married to and was collaborating with on art in New York City for 12 years.
The people who help shape your personality by being with you and around you and extensions of you.
I would have never moved to Massachusetts afterwards because I would have never met Jillian. She would have never gotten to grad school at Smith. I would have never met Adam Smith and Jen Levitt, who introduced me to the New York neo-futurists. and I never would have auditioned for them. I never would have met you. I never would have met Joseph. I never, like, all of the stuff that got me to the writing career I have now would
you
have
would
fallen
be
apart.
like some tech bro in Oakland.
Yes. So I would need to rearrange the part of my brain that says I only know general knowledge, but not specific things. Because if I went back to age 17 at Poteet High School in Mesquite, Texas, I would be like, how do I meet all of these same people? How do I get Jillian to marry me? How do I get her to want to move to Massachusetts? How do I know what I know about 40-something-year-old Adam Smith and Jen Levitt? And how do I then, at meeting them at 22 again, how do I then be like, we need to be best friends?
And then suppose one day you did meet them on a bus.
Yeah.
And they have no idea who you are, but you're there with your knowledge. They're like, we're best friends, right? Right?
And they're like, get away from me, you fucking creep.
You fucking weirdo. Stop I don't know you.
Yeah.
Although I feel like I know you, but listen, I got a whole different life going on right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, that's what this ending brings that question to mind of, like, he knows everything about her, whether it's fake or not, but he has memories of her.
Well, he has all of 3 days worth of memories of her.
Yeah. But they're established in his mind like they're a lifetime. So honestly, if you really want to, like, an easier solution here, your buddy who runs the mind changing lab is still alive. Oh no, he says it got destroyed in the battle.
They made I think they really did the doctor had to say, no, we can't. Everything below decks was pretty much destroyed.
Yeah. So we've closed that loop.
Yeah.
Well,
so you're the only one that can tune. But now I want to see Dark City 2, which is like 150 years later, in which he's just like a bored, misanthropic, despot that's like, I've like 9 dicks, women with 12 breasts, cats that are made of watermelons,
more titties, more dicks.
Bored to tears. That's the movie I want to see.
That Dark City 2, bored to tears. Let's rate Dark City 1, shall we?
Let's.
All right, so let's talk about our Sasha scale. That's our squeamish approachability scale for the horror averse. Like, how approachable is this movie? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not at all approachable if you're horror averse, and 10 being really easily approachable if you're horror averse. Like, I would give Dark City like 8 out of 10 Shell Beach postcards, right? It's gothic sci-fi. It's dystopian noir. There's some blood.
It's intense. It's very intense in places, but not scary.
No, and there's no scares, but just more creepy vibes and images.
Oh, for sure.
There's that one very bloody moment where the alien gets its head splattered, but it's not like Cronenberg gore. It's not Tom Savini gore. It is just like blood hits the back wall. There are, I will say, just content warnings for things that aren't necessarily super horror, but might get to some people. The close-ups of the needles that they use to inject the head.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
The close-up of this like steampunk drill needle thing is kind of scary when you imagine it going into your forehead.
And also, literally, Jeffrey, I literally went to the dentist for like a 2-hour-long dentist trip. It was a lot, but it turned out fine. But legit, all the noises that I heard at the dentist, you will hear in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, so if you have that like that high pitch machinery, that like, if that is your rough,
if that's your kink, drop them pants.
If that's your opposite kink, then run away.
Yeah. Also,
I mean, also
warning
Black Dahlia murder. Like, you have a lot of like, this is a thing that
dead women's bodies.
Well, like artfully decorated dead, like it's the like why I had to stop with like Hannibal and Dexter. I was like, if I see one more mutilated woman's body in a beautifully artistic thing, it's still, if that's a thing for you, then it's a thing.
And then finally, there's just kind of the weird fucking suicide where the guy's like, I've got a solution, and just throws himself in front of a train. So it is a little bit of like suicide as a way out. Like that is it's a pretty dangerous trope and kind of flippant in the way it gets used here. So just know that those things are there. Cecil, what about you as a horror film?
This has this has a lot of really great dream imagery, like
Mhm.
dark dream imagery. The staircase that extends as you have to run up it.
Yeah.
The I like this, that entire scene in the automat in which he's talking to a guy trying to get his wallet, but you don't see the guy.
Yeah.
Fuck, like that to me, like, makes me stay up at night much more than super graphic stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like it's things like that that I sit there and go, oh Jesus, like did I even look a single person in the eye today? You know, like that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah.
So existential dread, if existential dread is a horror trope or is a part of the horror canon, the thriller canon, this is a pretty top, this one's pretty good.
Yeah.
Don't look too close because it's very stylish and sometimes things fall apart a little bit, but fucking blast. So like
Yeah.
I'd say 7 out of 10 7 out of 10 Shell Beach memory boards.
Oh, nice. Nice. Let's figure out what we're going to watch next. You have a scare die. I have the style die. We'll roll those up, see what movie matches those two things. So if you roll a 1, our next movie scare has to be technology. 2, vampire. 3, ghost. 4, creepy children. We got some creepy children today.
There we go.
5, our scare is aquatic. 6, our scare is witchy. What is our scare?
Oh, that's a 4.
Creepy children.
Hey,
Man, we're gonna keep riding that wave.
I did that with my
Oh, did you tune the die? That's
I
great.
tuned that die. I really did. Let's
All
go
right.
to Vegas, y'all.
Let's match your creepy child scare with the style I rolled. If I roll a 1, our style is giallo. If I roll a 2, something silly, just a silly movie, either intentionally or unintentionally silly. 3, something from the 1970s. 4, something with a good day scare. 5, something rural. 6, Japanese horror. What do we got here? I got a 2, something silly
Creepy kids
with creepy
and
kids
silly.
and silly. Okay, we have some good ones. I'll tell you the ones I put on this list.
Okay, great.
I think technically not a kid, more a robot, but still a kid. I think Megan, the 2022
Megan.
robot film starring Allison Williams.
Megan.
I thought this movie was
I've come
fun
here to
as
party.
shit.
It's so silly.
Okay, another one is actually kind of a giallo-ish film, Kill Baby Kill.
Yeah, we've gotten really close to Kill Baby Kill.
Now, is this silly?
I've not seen this, so I can't judge.
Haven't either.
However, I feel like this goes into campy as silly. So like,
Yeah.
Like what? I can't go into any further than that, but it does have a lot of people have been like, this is so bonkers. The mental leaps that you as an audience member have to make it silly.
Yes.
I think is the vibe.
Yeah. Another one that I put on the list is a 1970s movie called The Other, although I'm just now realizing it doesn't seem to be available for streaming.
Oh.
But it's a series of gruesome accidents plague a small American farming community in 1935. There's 2 identical twin brothers and their family. It just looks very like, I think it's creepy kids, but also the silliness might be in unintentional, maybe.
Sure. Yeah, campy silly.
And the other 2 are that I put on here: Addams Family Values.
Delightful.
Straight up silly, intentionally so, creepy kids.
Yeah, totally.
All right, let's talk about what folks brought to the table over on Letterboxd. Okay. Brave Crab brings us Cooties.
Now I know I've heard of this.
From 2014.
Okay.
This
Elementary
is
school teachers Elijah Wood, Allison Pill, Rainn Wilson come under attack from children who have been turned into vicious monsters by contaminated chicken nuggets. This does look very silly.
It does look very silly.
It's literally like, it's like PTA Moms Attack is kind of the vibe here.
Yeah. Diamond Dogs brings us The Similars.
Ooh.
2015. Group of people are trapped at a bus station in Mexico and experience a bizarre phenomenon that may have been created by a small boy. It's a really great Twilight Zone homage. The phenomenon is very silly, but the characters react to it very seriously. Better not to know anything else about it.
Nice. I do remember. And Diamond Dogs. I remember that episode of the Twilight Zone, or I think it was in the film, if I remember correctly.
Thank you, Diamond. Also, thank you for a really well written synopsis. That's a good sell.
Listen, like I love it being like I can't say anything more. That's the most tantalizing thing in the world.
Yes. Okay. Fun. What's the next one we have on here?
No.
I love that username.
BGH. We're going to go BGH. Psycho Gorman from 2020 is like an inverse ET where two children befriend a malevolent alien. And while the titular Psycho Gorman is technically the scare, the kids themselves are creepy elements of the movie, so it works. That's kind of cool. So it's like kids v bad alien. But the kids have to get real vicious, it sounds like, and so become creepy. That sounds kind of cool.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Ganymede's Cup gives us The Willies from 1990, an American comedy horror anthology. It's got Sean Astin in it. While camping in a backyard, three young boys share scary stories about a bathroom monster, huge flies, and more. Okay, plenty of creepy kids in here. Yeah, this is like YA horror.
Yeah, it sounds like Goosebumps, kind of.
The Suckling comes from Josh Ludd, gives us The Suckling, 1990. Fetus survives illegal abortion, mutates in sewer, goes on a killing spree in the clinic/brothel, a tale as old as time.
Wow. Now, I gotta say, that sounds amazing.
Okay. That does sound pretty good. Oh, B-Harps gives us Troll 2. Which
Jeffrey,
is...
I've never seen Troll or Troll 2.
I haven't either, and I think it's Troll 2 that
Troll 2 is the one that's so campy.
The worst movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's like, it's now like it been elevated to Shadowcast. Like they made a documentary about how this film has taken on a life of its own, being the campiest, silliest movie of all time.
Yeah. B-Harps also gives us Little Monsters from 2019. Lupita Nyong'o, I believe, is in this.
Oh, that one.
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Madame
zombie children, zombie puppets.
Madame Traship gives us Hell Baby 2013. Expectant couple moves into the most haunted house in New Orleans. They call upon the service of the Vatican's elite exorcism team to save them from a demonic baby.
Fun.
Yeah, I want to join the Vatican's elite exorcism team.
Move to Jersey.
Okay, great.
It's all in New Jersey.
Okay.
What's all over the map here?
There's a lot here. What's standing out to you?
I just watched Megan in my own personal life. I will watch it for the show again, but I did just watch it.
Yes.
I've never seen Kill Baby Kill. It's been on here a couple of times.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a crazy campy romp. Cooties sounded, I think out of the suggestions, Cooties look pretty good.
The Similars sounded pretty good too from Diamond Dogs.
Oh dear. But honestly, Jeffrey, I'm kind of curious about Troll 2.
Are you really? Are you really?
I kind of am. Like, we rolled silly. And I'm sure there are children in Troll 2.
Yes. They say that there are
has creepy kid moments up and down.
It's so funny because three of the suggestions, Troll 2, The Suckling, and The Willies, are all from 1990.
We've been hitting the 90s really hard.
We have, which is good because we have been really remiss in getting to 90s horror. So I'm not going to say the 90s have really delivered back strongly all the time, but we're doing it, man. So Troll 2 is available to stream. I think that's it.
Can you get too silly though?
Yeah, I think, okay, so my worry about a movie like Troll 2
be like trashy.
My worry about a movie like Troll 2 is going to be that it is so silly that we've already talked through all of the badness, that it is so well trod
Yeah.
in its
Yeah.
badness that it could, because sometimes I think people think like, oh, I want to hear these guys really talk about a bad movie, but
Yeah.
sometimes watching a bad movie is really tough.
It's because people put they put like a lot of work and like, do you know how much work it fucking takes to make a
Yeah.
piece of art?
Yeah.
Like, especially a collaborative piece of art like a film.
Yeah. I think our Leprechaun 4 episode is really good because we had so much fun, but our Virgin Witch episode, an equally terrible film, is super kind of dull. Like, we were both like, I don't know what to say, man. This movie
I don't
sucks.
know. This is just kind of
It's
Little Monsters might be a good. I think Little Monsters has come up quite a few times, and it's not the I was thinking the Little Monsters with Fred Savage. That's like from like the 80s or whatever, but no,
from
like,
1989.
yeah, that's what I was thinking at first. But it has kids. It has zombie kids, creepy kids. Check. It's like one of those weird hybrid musical mashup. So it's got a bit of campiness to it. I have not seen it, so like,
I haven't either. It's got
Josh
Josh Gad and Lupita Nyong'o.
I mean, like, who are, best of the best. So like, maybe that's the thing, is go for something that's maybe more professionally done, but with a sense of ribald, a sense of levity.
Yes. So
rather than something that is going to be like, this is going to be unintentionally hilarious.
Yes. Ultimately, I think it comes down to the big decision, which we made a few weeks ago. I forget which decision it was that we had a few weeks back like this, but do we want to do the movie that is maybe slightly lesser known and talked about?
Sure.
Or do we want to do the movie that is heavily talked about, right? Like Troll 2, Addams Family. Yeah. These are going to be movies, Megan. These are going to be movies that are like high in our consciousness.
Like, just go to a social media platform and look up that movie and it'll tell you everybody has an opinion.
Yeah. We tend to get slightly more listeners if we do a very popular movie, but also I think we have slightly better episodes when we have compelling movies. So maybe Little Monsters, I think.
I'm into Little Monsters.
Yeah, I'm sorry to trick anyone.
Although Cooties also did sound kind of funny.
Cooties
but they sound really similar. This kind of like, when children attack.
Yeah. Brave Crab suggested Cooties. Brave Crab also gave us Leprechaun 4, which makes me love and distrust Brave Crab.
You're like side-eye it just a little bit. I love you, side-eye. I'm feeling Little Monsters, Jeffrey.
Let's do Little Monsters. This looks fun. It looks truly intentionally silly. We know it has great acting. And it's, I don't know, creepy kids. It hits the brief perfectly. Yeah. Let's fucking do Little Monsters. It's also on Hulu, so good times there. All right. That was almost easy. It was good. We got a good movie. So thank you all for listening. Thank you, Cecil, for talking with me. If you have thoughts on Dark City or ideas for what your Dark City 2 might look like, or ideas for other movies, what would you have picked with silly movie that has creepy children? Let us know on Instagram or on Twitter, if that's still a thing, at Random Horror 9. And watch Little Monsters from 2019 with us this week. And come on back next Tuesday for a new episode. Have a restful night with no express train skipping your stop or nothing. Bow.
Boo.